Hey, everybody, this is John from Geeks From The Multiverse podcast, and with me today is my good buddy Matt, as always. Say what's up, Matt.
Hey, what's up? Don't forget about Hank over here.
Well, okay, my bad. Yes, Hank, if you haven't already noticed, especially on Facebook, yes, Hank is our new mascot. He's very quiet, doesn't really like to, he pretends to talk, but he's really quiet. He's actually
He doesn't
quite
say
shy.
very much, yeah.
And the problem is actually he's probably even more shy than Matt, but it's okay. But anyways, so today's episode, right? So we've already talked about Marvel so far, and with our series, we're getting close to the end right now. Of course, this is episode 9. So again, if you haven't already tuned in, make sure you listen to the others, and again, like us, follow us, all that fun stuff. But anyways, so today we're going to be talking about Phase 4, right? So this is really the aftermath after the end game, finale, right? And so this is more about the multiverse saga. And so, when Matt and I are going to be talking about this, unfortunately there's so much going on in this phase, which is going to be really hard to talk about every single one. So hopefully what we'll be doing is just kind of like giving you some highlights, some little things here and there. We may not talk about everything, but the best thing you can do is just, if you're interested, go check it out, right? So go check out Marvel as a whole, really watch it. And if you really want to see more, again, it's better if you just watch it, because if we sat here, we'll probably be, here for like 3 hours if we're going to talk about this really. But anyways, what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to play some Superfight. We're going to be figuring out who King Geek of the Week is, since Matt this time is King Geek of the Week.
Yeah, we're going to do round 4.
Round 4. So let's get geeky.
All right. So we did pre-select our cards this time, like we did last week, just to save a little bit of time, because like we said, Phase 4 does have a lot in it. So, John, since I was Geek of the Week.
Okay, thanks for rubbing it in.
You can pick your character cards first.
Okay, so, oh, wait, right. Just kidding. Yes, I'm going to pick my character. So, kind of like what I did last time, I'm going to choose you. Oh. Sorry. Matt, you ready? Mr. Rogers. Like I could make this up. I mean, you literally it's for real. So Mr. Rogers, I love this. So go ahead, Matt.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna just shuffle these in my hand. There's only 3, so it's not that tough. And I'm gonna pick whatever one's on the top. Let's go. There we go. I swear to God, I hope this is better than Mr. Rogers, man.
All right. Hold on. Let's see.
I actually think I might have a chance.
Really? What is your choice? Please tell me.
I think I might have a chance with this one.
What is it?
Your mom.
Bull.
I kid you.
No. Really? Oh my God. I'm sorry, Mama, if you're listening.
So literally your mom versus Mr. Rogers.
Okay, this is wrong. This is so wrong on so many levels. Okay, so all right, I'm gonna choose mine. Ready? So I choose you. I mean, I know he has this particular part of his body, but can control hair. I don't know what exactly. So
what do you?
I don't know. So the thing is, though, is so if you don't know, again, sorry, Mom, but yes, my mother has very short hair. So I don't think really controlling.
Well, let's get into the debate part after. So you, Mr. Rogers, can control hair.
Okay, fine.
All right, so let me pick my first power or weakness. I'm going to go with this card right here. Let me put these over here. I don't even know. Apparently, your mom's on stilts.
Okay. But I don't know what that's going to do. I mean, she is pretty, she's tall for a woman, but I mean, I guess that adds height. I don't know.
Adds height, yeah.
So, okay. So
I don't know where this fight's going.
This is weird. I did not believe when Matt showed me this, so I'm going to be curious. But anyways, so.
This is like the weirdest fight I think we've had.
Yes.
Thus far.
This is the weirdest fight. Yeah. All right. So I choose you. Really? This couldn't even get any worse. Ready? Throws burritos. Like legit throws burritos. So basically controls hair, throws burritos as Mr. Rogers. Okay.
All right, let's see how much weirder we can make this. And believe it or not, like we're not actually cheating. Like these cards are completely random.
Like, we have zero idea of what's happening. So,
All right, I'm picking this one. I don't know what it is.
all right. What is it? Please. No,
Oh,
please, please.
the fight's over. I can tell you right now.
What is it?
Can throw sticky bombs.
Okay. Well, we still have to debate. So let's get into this. So, all right. So, Mr. Rogers, who controls hair and throws burritos, versus
Your mom on stilts who can throw sticky bombs.
so you know the worst part is like if you're saying it, it could be my mom, but if I said it, it could be
But it's my card, so when I say your mom, then it's your mom.
okay. I just again, it just sounds weird. That's all I'm saying. But anyways, so this may not be a very long debate, but this is definitely like Matt and I just said. This is probably the weirdest round we've ever done.
It's definitely weird. And I'll say this, like I honestly don't think that you have much of a battle. But I will say throwing burritos with and
Yep.
I will put this out there, and if your mom is listening, I do apologize for this,
I
but
can't wait, man.
you are winning this fight. But I do have to
Well-
say, if you are throwing burritos and your mom is on stilts, there's potential that she's gonna slip on a burrito.
Well, and here's the best part: if she's holding a sticky bomb, okay, because that's what it says, right? Can throw sticky bombs, right? So if it's in her hands, and let's say she slips on, a burrito on stilts, it could blow her up technically.
But it does depend on what kind of stilts, because working at a haunt, I know that there are many types of stilts. So you do have like, the regular type of stilts that you do have to like really balance on, and they just have the regular legs. But there are also stilts that are made for faster moving. They're made
Yeah.
for running, and they do take a little bit more balance. But if your mom was actually using those,
Yep.
she would be running a little bit faster. And it doesn't say how many sticky bombs she has. So
True.
I could almost envision like a green goblin where she can pull them out of a bag and are throwing them, and you
yeah.
wouldn't have much of a chance
But-
because
True, but so here's the thing that I'm looking at too, right? So Mr. Rogers, okay, I'm gonna do a different side of this, okay? Mr. Rogers is a very lovable kind of guy, right? Because even growing up a little bit, seeing him, okay, sorry, let me rephrase this. Seeing reruns, sorry, because it wasn't technically around. Well, maybe it was, I don't know. Anyways, watching him, he was a pretty lovable guy, okay? Like he's done a lot, so knowing my mother, okay, I don't think she'd want to maybe hurt him. So, it kind of goes into that battle, like, okay, survival of the fittest, kind of like actually probably the theme of what we're going to be talking about probably today. Really, controlling hair. Again, my mother doesn't have long hair, so that really just like defeats the purpose on this one. But throwing burritos, yeah, my only chance is that if Mr. Rogers was quick enough, if he could throw it and then have her like slip, and then if she's holding a sticky bomb, yes, unfortunately, Mom, I'm sorry, but you'd probably be dead. There's no other way to say it, but
she'd probably slip. But there's also, and you have to take, what the personality of Mr. Rogers is too, because yeah, on the show, he's a lovable guy, but was he a terrible guy? No, he wasn't a terrible guy, but like he did fight a lot of, public cases in court.
correct.
So
right.
he wasn't just like, I'm going to lay down and let people win.
And actually,
But I do think though, if your mom's throwing sticky bombs and they're blowing up all around him, I don't think he's going to be like, hey, have a burrito. I think
No.
he would be the kind of guy that might cower in the corner and
Hold on a minute. So there is, if I'm not mistaken, he actually did serve in the military. Okay, so he does have some form of military training. I'm not saying he would probably be, like what I'm trying to think of Sylvester Stallone's movie. When he's what is it? I know you know what
Like
I'm talking about.
which one? Like the assassin?
No, the when he's out in the jungle.
Rambo?
Oh, Rambo. Sorry, I'm sorry. I had a brain fart. But yes,
Come
like
on.
I'm not saying he's like Rambo. Okay, I'm sorry. I had a brain fart. But he would have had some form of military training of some sort, which I'm not saying my mother didn't either. So yes, my mother does have military training. Okay, so I probably wouldn't be like Rambo, but like maybe
I
some
think there's
kinda.
only so much you can do when there's sticky bombs blowing up around you. Unfortunately, John.
Okay, listen. I know you're trying to say that you won, but
I think I did.
no, see, there could be a counter. I just think there could be a counter. So, I mean, it depends on how you look at it. Yes, if you want to solely base it off of the sticky bombs, sure. You know what? I give you that. But if Mr. Rogers was throwing burritos,
All your mom would do is slip, which
Right.
she could just get right back
right?
up.
But the thing is, though, is if it's a sticky bomb, I don't. It probably if she lights it, if they're already like whatever, if she like fell to the ground and they all dropped, you don't think they're gonna not blow up?
Well, I mean, you have to trigger it somehow. I mean,
I mean, well,
if
that's
she
the
had
problem.
if she had a bag of them and just fell, like you
It
have
would,
to.
it would depend because if she's falling from whatever height, because the problem is it doesn't say what kind of stilts.
Right.
Either,
It doesn't say how high,
which
but you're not, 10 feet off the ground most times. I mean, most times you might only be, depending on the stilts. Yes, you could be maybe 3 feet
but
above the ground, but you're not standing 6 feet above the ground like you know.
oh, like someone my height is that what you're trying to say?
Well, no, like I'm not. You're not going to be like skyscraper tall. You're only going to be maybe 2 or 3 feet off the ground. So you're not going to necessarily die from falling. Yes, if she had a sticky bomb in her hand and then slips, there's potential that the sticky bomb is going to stick to her. And yeah, but that's if your mom is that clumsy
Yes.
and Mr. Rogers has enough time to throw that many burritos where she can't maneuver around one burrito.
So no, it said throw burritos, right?
Right.
So it could be multiple.
But your mom can throw sticky bombs, which means
Yeah, she can throw.
she can throw multiple sticky bombs at one time.
Okay, so you know what? Just like what we did last time, we're gonna leave it. No.
I don't think that this ends in a draw.
No, because
I don't think that this ends in a draw.
So you think you won? Is that what you're saying?
I think by sheer explosion, Mr. Roger loses.
Okay, but see, I don't think it's for us to decide. We can say whoever wins, whatever. I think it should be up to the listeners to see who won the battle.
Sheer explosion.
Okay,
Mr. Rogers loses.
You're right, and I already told you what could happen. And my mother is clumsy. No offense, Mom, but it's true. So if we're basing it off that, she is clumsy, and I'm sorry, but she right now, no offense, sorry, Mom. She can't really stand up for very long. So for her being on stilts, yeah, I don't think that's gonna work well. Personally, if I'm gonna take a wild guess on that. So if we're basing it off, like I said, the fact that it is my mother on stilts throwing sticky bombs, I think she's going to be clumsy. But again,
anything Mr. Rogers wearing dress shoes won't slip on a burrito that he throws?
oh, so that's how we're going to play it, huh? Is
Hey,
that how
I'm
we're gonna play
just-
it? Oh, so but again, so you keep saying
It can go both ways too,
Right.
man.
So what I'm hearing is right now,
If he's throwing multiple burritos, the ground's going to be mighty slippery with, refried beans and
all right,
sour cream and
you could tell.
explosions going off. And
But here's the problem, though. You keep saying you won, but then like we're having this like counter argument every time. So really, I keep saying that right now it should be a draw until somebody tells us, like, we get enough people to actually tell us who won the battle.
all right, I mean, this is going to stay in a complete draw because
Well, we still have
nobody's given us any.
no. I mean,
feedback
no,
on
of
these
course not.
fights.
But the problem is that well, guys, we want you to give us feedback because we're still waiting on the first one that we had a draw in too, because that was a tough one. We didn't know, right? So again, let us know. Reach out to us. Give us an answer because we want to know.
The question is actually right on Spotify, so you can respond right in Spotify.
Right, and just make sure that we understand, like, who clearly won, because if we don't, then we're just not gonna know really who is King Geek of the Week. But anyways, Matt, since we're done with Superfight and we clearly don't know, we have this debate and we're gonna sit here for like 3 hours. Why don't we talk about Phase 4?
All right. So there was a lot for Phase 4, John,
You don't say, Matt.
because Phase 4, up until like Phase 4 started, 1, 2, and 3 were 100% movies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because this was the first time when they started showing the TV shows and seeing how well they could actually, correlate them with the actual movies. Which some of them did well, and some of them,
Well, that's
okay.
debatable for a lot of reasons, but Phase 4 had a lot of TV shows. I actually,
Well, the question.
in total, there's about 10 of them actually.
Well, did you? Well, we don't have to go through every single one, but
No,
why
but
don't
I'm gonna
at least
I'm
mention them?
gonna I'm gonna read the titles of all the TV shows and all the movies before we kind of go into
Well, no, and
our kind of thing.
I agree, because at least it gives them a heads up and they can at least
Yeah.
figure out what is what.
Yeah. So as far as TV shows for Phase 4, we have WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, Werewolf by Night, and Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
So we're gonna keep in mind that Werewolf by Night and Guardians of the Galaxy special, like the holiday special, they weren't really a TV show. It was like a mini movie.
Yeah, they were like specials.
They were like a TV
Yeah.
special, kind of like a thing, but it's not an actual series.
All right, so the movies that were in Phase 4 consist of Black Widow, Thor: Love and Thunder, Eternals, Shang-Chi.
That's
Did I
right.
say that right?
Shang-Chi, yes.
Yes. And The Legend of the Ten Rings. I butchered that guy's name, and I apologize for all the geeks out there that will, probably
Criticize you, yes. It's
criticize
okay.
me for it.
Here's
I
Matt's
apologize.
attest.
I will say it wrong the next 10 times I say his name. We have Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
So, like we said, we don't have enough time to go through everything, because if we did, it would take us probably 2-3 hours, and we don't have all night to be.
No, we definitely don't have all night. So, I think in general terms, Phase 4 consisted, I think, mainly of two things. It was introducing a new wave of heroes and exploring a post-Endgame world where half of the universe reappeared after, that 5 years after like what they kind of called the blip.
Yeah, and with Endgame, it affected a lot of things, and especially a lot of people. So, with the TV shows and the movies, like if you get a chance to actually watch them, like it does affect everybody in different ways. And I know, like for example, I think like Black Widow, technically it takes place
Before, yeah.
well before, and it just kind of gives you a sneak peek of what her backstory is. But
Which
not
is tragic in its own story,
right.
but yeah, it did happen before. And even though I did already kind of mention it brings a whole bunch of new characters into the MCU, and it introduces like the concept of the multiverse.
Right, which, hey, ironically, right?
Hey,
Part of our name.
yeah.
So,
So some notable new characters, even though, Phase 4, there's a lot more than what I'm mentioning here. But some notable new characters, and there's at least some of them that I'm going to totally butcher the name. So
I can't
I
wait.
apologize ahead of time.
I literally cannot wait, but go ahead.
All right, so there's Yelena Boleva from Black Widow.
Yelena, but it's fine.
Okay, whatever. Yelena Bologna. I don't whatever.
Okay, go on.
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, yes.
Yes. There, I said it again. Look at that.
That's good. That's
Look at
good.
that. The Eternals.
Ugh.
And God forbid, there's one that I maybe can pronounce, but I do have them all listed here.
Oh boy.
Thena? Athena?
Oh,
Athena?
Athena? No, is it just
It's
Athena?
just
Athena.
Athena.
Athena, yep.
Ajax,
Ajax, yep.
Icarus,
Yep.
Kingo.
What is it?
Kingo?
Oh, Kingo. Yes.
Kingo, yeah. Sunan?
Sunan. Okay, yep.
Phaistos?
I think it's Feistos. I think it's Feistos.
Sprite?
Yeah.
Gilgamesh.
Yes, Gilgamesh.
That's the
Yeah.
one I know.
Yeah, well, yeah. So and then that's
Makari is the last one.
Makari. So like all of these roughly are like based off of like Greek mythology.
Right.
That
Yeah.
a lot of them are. Some of them might be from different cultures, but if you if you get a chance to see the
You
movie
have to watch the movie to really know, like, kind of who they are.
and kind of like what they do, because
Yeah.
all of them have different powers.
Moon Knight, America Chavez, which is from Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness,
Or
who
Mom.
is one of the more crucial add-ons because it was revealed in that movie, and it's not a huge spoiler, but if you haven't seen it, it's too late now. Just go,
Sorry.
sorry. But it was revealed that America Chavez can travel through through the multiverse.
Right. So she can basically go interdimensional. So she can basically just go from one realm to another, and it would be no problem.
Which is kind of like an interesting scene in that movie when they're going through the multiverse and they're traveling through. I think that they travel through one that's just paint.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of interesting. But the last one is also an important one. He Who Remains,
Oh boy.
which you see him in the show Loki.
Right.
That's a variant of Kang the Conqueror.
Right. Which is
Kang in general, but it's a variant of Kang.
which at the time people were like, "Oh, is it going to be him or not going to be him?" Because there was a whole debate on that, and then people were like, "No, that actually is going to be a variant of him." And I was like, "Perfect. That makes total sense."
Which, if you're caught up with the movies, you do know who he is by now.
Well, hopefully, yes.
Yes. If you're not caught up with the movies,
And too bad.
too bad. It's too late now.
It's too late.
So those are notable new characters. There's obviously a whole lot more. Like there's Jennifer Walters, who is She-Hulk. Like there's a whole lot more.
Right. And I mean, if you kind of like with phase 4, that's the one thing that we want to mention real quick. All right. Sorry, I want to mention is unfortunately, because you see that, Tony Stark is gone, right? And you see Cap is gone. And also like, for example, Scarlet Witch is gone. I'm sorry, not Scarlet Witch. I'm thinking of Scarlett Johansson, but no, Black Widow and also Hawkeye. So like these characters are basically getting replaced in a lot of different ways in the movies and the TV shows. And on top of that, a lot of them, like some of them are good. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm sorry guys, but some of them are good, like good replacements, and some of them I guess I'm just trying to figure out what's the importance of them in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, just talking some notable moments with Phase 4, I think for me starts with Spider-Man.
Oh, absolutely. That's like the one movie, and I know we talked about this, but this is the one movie that if you ever watched the original Spider-Man like trilogy, like with like Tobey Maguire,
right.
and then you saw a little bit with like Andrew Garfield, like that's like if I'm sorry guys, if you haven't seen it, I'm definitely not sorry because you definitely need to go watch it. But the fact that they brought in like all these villains and like the different Spider-Men, right? And showing them like it was the probably the best conclusion they could literally tie up with all the stuff that they realized Sony made a mistake. So if you don't know, Sony made a giant mistake because they had 3 different versions of Spider-Man, sorry. And they needed to find a way to like close the chapter. So of course, this was the movie that they would close all the chapters regarding like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield because they didn't really do anything else with Toby or Andrew. And it also kind of like completes the actual, I guess, story for all of them. And it was actually kind of nice because, you actually got to see, Green Goblin, come back. Right. So William Dafoe playing as him, like it was perfect. Like you couldn't have, if you chose anyone else, I guarantee you there would have been an uproar. Like, I would have been so mad if they chose anybody else for that role.
Yeah, I mean, it was all the villains from Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, but and I think too, you kind of look if they wrote that movie any different, it wouldn't have been as successful as it was.
No, and probably out of the 3, movies from Spider-Man so far, like, that one honestly was the best one. Like,
Right.
and if you wanna debate anybody, I'm like, "Go ahead," but I'm gonna tell you, if you've seen the rest and then see this one, yeah, you're gonna agree with me that it is honestly one of the best.
But I mean, I think as far as Phase 4, beyond what it did for, bringing in the other, past movies from Spider-Man and everything. The movie primarily was Peter Parker kind of breaking the multiverse. And, yes, in Loki we kind of get this idea of the multiverse from WandaVision. We kind of start getting a piece of it. Loki, we get a bigger piece of it.
Well, this
Spider-Man, we get a huge piece of it. And then Doctor Strange, we're in it,
well, and
right?
so the thing was is this movie really started the whole theory on the whole multiverse as itself inside of the MCU. So when you're looking at it for the first time, you know, you're kinda like, what are we really doing right now? Because we already know about time travel, right? So, like, this is the first concept of like, okay, now there's different variants of different people. And
Right.
so, the fact that you saw all these like Spider-Men, come in, and then, you had I think it was Wong saying, "Hey, don't do that spell," very beginning. And then of course, Peter's like, "Oh, I wanna make sure that people remember me. Like, here's MJ, here's this and there's
Yeah.
that." And it creates this whole disaster, which like Matt was saying, it creates really the breaking of the multiverse. And this is where it's a pinnacle piece to what the saga, what the multiverse saga was. And so, moving forward, that's where you can start to see, the different, movies come into play like Doctor Strange. And then, we're going to talk about it in the next episode, but like Quantumania and how that, in some ways is still affected, because of some of the events from the beginning.
Yeah, and I think too, like when you do see this movie and you kind of like see what occurs at the end of the movie, Phase 4 really doesn't push the narrative other than introducing the multiverse. So you kind of like, in that movie, and I'm releasing spoilers, so like we said before, if you haven't seen this movie, it's way too late. But he does go ahead and like actually fix some of these villains from Andrew Garfield's and Tobey Maguire's. But when they go back to their own, their own universe, we don't know what the effect of that is.
But the one thing that I will mention is if you if you watch Venom, okay, this is a very important piece to this movie. If you watch the Venom movies that Sony created, right? So watch, Venom.
Especially We Are Carnage.
Yeah, We Are Carnage. So here's the thing that we didn't know at the time. So if you didn't see that movie before you saw this one, the end credit scene does not make any
It,
sense.
it does
It
not make
makes
sense
0 sense.
whatsoever. Yeah.
So if you watch it, watch Venom, let there be carnage, and then
Yes.
watch No Way Home, and then I guarantee you a lot of things will make sense.
That end scene will make, much more sense, and you'll go, "Oh, okay," because that's what I did. Like I saw the movie and then I saw Venom after,
Yeah.
and when I saw the end scene in Venom, it was like,
It was night and day.
"Oh, okay, now I get it."
Right, and that's what's we're not trying to go too far with this, but like Sony, I understand is like they're still trying to create their own like MCU version with the really the Spider-Man, characters and
Yeah.
whatnot. But that's why I'm saying depending on how this goes down the road, like Craven the Hunter and I think it's like Black Cat or Shadow Cat, a few other characters that come into play. That's why you definitely with the MCU and then also the Sonyverse, like you're gonna have to watch probably both to kind of understand at some point
Right.
once they start, releasing them. But anyways,
So Doctor Strange is one that I also, in particular was important for Phase 4. It did drive that narrative a little bit farther of how important the multiverse was, how important it is to kind of keep it intact. Um, but there were certain things I think, John, with Doctor Strange and having Scarlet Witch as the villain per se.
Yeah.
And not that I didn't like Scarlet Witch as the villain, but I thought that they could have done something different.
Right. And actually, again, we're going to mention our previous conversation, but instead of just having Scarlet Witch, be the main villain, have different variants, which I know we both agreed was something we should, that would have been a great version to see as
Yes.
well.
And that, because we already saw, in Spider-Man, we saw the variants. Loki, we saw, variants of Loki in the show. I think they could have really pulled off something like The Matrix, where you have like, Neo fighting, hundreds of Agent Smiths, where you have like, you have the one main version of Doctor Strange, and you have all of these different versions, and they could have gone
Yeah.
crazy with these variants of Doctor Strange where he's fighting evil variants, crazy variants,
Right. It didn't really matter at that point because if there's hundreds of them, then he has to basically find a way to, you know, get rid of them and then put them back to where they came from, basically.
and it wouldn't change the narrative of the movie itself. I think the narrative of the movie could have stayed exactly the same.
I mean, of course, different plot points would have to be
Obviously,
addressed.
yes, different plot points, but I think if you look at the movie as a whole, I think you can still have that same narrative with him trying to get to Darkhold, trying to redo everything that he was doing in that movie. But instead of fighting against Scarlet Witch, it's against variants of himself.
Right. And I mean, when it comes to Doctor Strange, it
And that weird eyeball at the end, I'm sorry, bro, that was weird.
what?
The third eyeball thing at the end. Like
We're jumping ahead. We're jumping ahead. But since we're talking about this right now, I mean, with Doctor Strange though, it's I would say probably one of the most interesting pieces, which I know a lot of people are theorizing this, was the whole Illuminati. Okay, because like that was a huge thing in the comics where you had Tony Stark, you had Professor X, you had Mister Fantastic, you had um trying to remember the originals. I think Namor the Submariner. You had, a couple others, I think. But, to go into that, it really brought in a different way of, how do you bring in like a different realm or like a different earth and just like hey, these are the smartest people on the planet, some of the strongest as well, and how they took advantage, or I guess how they really changed, for example, like how they had their own end game, like versing Thanos, right? And how they won. And then, they unfortunately had to, kill, and again, spoiler alert, but they had to kill, their Doctor Strange. But I mean, in this movie, it really brings in a lot of like what ifs, right? So like the TV show, like that was what I liked about the movie too, is that it brought in the TV show, with well, Captain Peggy Carter, right? Like, or really like Captain Britain, I guess if you want to call her,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So like,
yeah.
I mean, granted, she's my homegirl, but it was a little weird, but that was a what if moment, right? So like, that's what I also liked about like that TV show, is because a lot of the things that were addressed in that show, in this movie, really kind of brought to light. Which, yes,
If only Scarlet Witch didn't kill them all.
well, yes, that too.
But yes, I do like how the movie did bring, especially like, even though technicalities, he wasn't a zombie.
No, you're right. He was not a zombie.
But when you look at him in the movie, when he takes over, that dead variant,
Right,
that's exactly what
right. In the
the
show,
Marvel zombie Doctor Strange looks like.
yeah, and I mean, now granted, I think they're. Did they ever say that they were creating like a movie based on the zombies, or was it just like a TV show?
They would really be doing an injustice if they didn't actually create, some kind of a movie or TV show.
But so my
based on
question,
that Marvel Zombies.
well, my question is though, what do you think about, um, would you rather see an animated version or would you rather see like an actual live action?
It's got to be live action. It's got to
Well,
be live action.
that means you're bringing in literally every character that has ever been on screen and then making them all, zombies. I mean, no, don't get me
Hey.
wrong. I think it would be interesting. I think it's a great concept.
Hey.
But I mean, who knows? Maybe that's something they were talking about. So MCU, if you ever do listen to us, just maybe let us know and we can like pitch the idea to you and like get this going and maybe make us a sponsor. But anyways,
So yeah, I mean that's Doctor Strange. It was, I think, for Phase 4, beyond Spider-Man, I think it was one of the bigger movies
all right. Well,
for Phase 4
okay.
because there wasn't an Avengers in Phase 4.
No. But hold on. You did want to mention the whole eye thing real quick. Because I didn't mean to interrupt you before, but
No, but it was right at the end of the movie, and granted, like I said before, there's a lot of things with Phase 4 that we don't know yet because Phase 4, realistically, if you look at Phase 4, this is like the Phase 1 of the Infinity Saga.
right. And with that movie, like unfortunately, a lot of the movies and TV shows, like in this, this phase, really gives you like a dead end, and it doesn't really explain a
Yeah.
whole lot. And so I'm hoping, like Matt was saying, is like in Phase 5 and 6, these things will come into
Play
fruition.
a bigger picture, yeah. So I made a list, John, of a couple of the movies and TV shows that I thought were the best and the worst.
Okay. You know what? Go ahead, and I'll agree or disagree, but we'll see.
So I'll start with the best.
Okay.
So arguably, I think Spider-Man No Way Home
Oh,
is
absolutely.
the best Spider-Man to date. And I think it only has to do with the cast and the story.
Yes, and I mean even the action sequence, man. I mean, like the fact that they even had their own comedy. Like
Yeah.
like when they were asking, like for example, when like Tom Holland's Spider-Man was asking Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, right, about how he was like shooting his web, and he's like, where's that coming out of? Like where is
Yeah.
that? I don't want to
Yeah.
go into too details, but like that was a funny moment where you probably wouldn't see that in probably the MCU version per se.
Another movie that I have is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I included this
agree.
as one of my favorites from Phase 4 because as a standalone movie,
Right,
with
and no idea.
no sequels, no prequels, no nothing. Like this movie was a Phase 4, like Iron Man was to Phase 1.
I agree. Yes.
This movie was by far one of the best.
Absolutely. I mean, they told a story. They brought it from the ground up, and I mean, the fact that at the very end, I'm not gonna
Real
spoil it,
martial arts. It wasn't
no,
like
it wasn't
like
fake.
weird fake, kung fu or fight.
Yeah, like yeah. No,
I know
yeah.
karate. Like it wasn't
No.
fake. Like it was real choreographed martial arts.
Yeah, and in the whole movie by itself, I mean, the fact that you actually kind of get to see how, you're also bringing different cultures into
Right.
the mix because
Right.
it was unique in its own right. And I mean, the fact that, it was like, yes, they're on Earth, but it's like a different realm of Earth that they were, in, which was unique in its own right. And I mean, you get to see how, father and son, battle it out, and his dad is like, I don't even know how old, but he's
old.
He's really old. But like Shang-Chi, like, he then becomes the rightful owner because he beats his father. But it was a nice, touching, kind of scene, and like even the whole movie itself. I mean, like having his best friend the entire time, and she's a comic relief, and it was just honestly, it was a perfect dynamic
Yeah.
duo.
It was, like I said, for Phase 4 as a standalone movie with nothing else kind of attached to it. It was by far the best.
Oh yeah,
As far as TV shows, hands down Loki.
absolutely. And if anyone disagrees, let us know. Because
Actually, don't let us know because we don't care.
well, I get sure, but I was gonna
No,
say,
but Loki was, I think, as far as all the TV shows go, I think Loki was one of the better TV shows. And honestly, the story was good, but honestly, I think it's the character of Loki.
Well, hold on. I wouldn't just say just him. I mean, all the variants of Loki, I think also kind of helped bring that kind of show together because, when you get to see a Loki version, like a female version, an older or like the old school
It's really
comics
just the
version.
alligator.
I mean, that's true. The
Yeah, yeah,
alligator,
yeah,
the
yeah.
alligator is, the best one. Yes.
And although I don't like the entire show as a whole, I do like certain episodes of it, but I do say What If
Uh,
is my fourth kind of runner up to, TV shows or best projects from Phase 4.
I mean, TV shows wise, it's tough because I would definitely put What If in the top three.
Cuz I do absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge zombie fan and I do love that they made that Marvel zombie episode. And it is kind of fun to think of, like, yeah, what if, granted, like I said, all the episodes, you kind of watch them and you're like, well, that's not what I was thinking, if, like, what if, but
Well,
it,
yep.
it is kind of interesting, but like not all the episodes are kind of my
Well,
cup of tea.
no, I agree, but the thing is though is like when you're watching What If, I mean, and I'm sorry if any one of you like Miss Marvel, but when I watched that TV show, it was really it was definitely different, and the problem was is like, you know, looking at her character and looking at the, her powers because that was the biggest thing
I
is like,
mentioned that one next, actually.
oh, I'm sorry, I guess
It's in my worst.
oh, is it the worst? Okay, well, I'm gonna mention it worst, but like, putting What If, like I would say What If is a heck of a lot better than watching Miss Marvel by far because
Oh
it
yeah,
is
yeah,
not a
yeah,
it
yeah.
is not like unless you agree with it. I mean, or disagree, whatever. But I mean, it's one of those things about like wondering what exactly could happen in a different scenario. Like that was the part that when looking at these episodes and finding out like again, what if everyone's a zombie or what if Doctor Strange does take a hold of the dark hold and becomes who he is and so on and so forth, like seeing all
Yeah.
these different
Yeah,
things
what if
is
Ultron did win?
right.
You know,
Like that's the part where I was like, hey, this is awesome. Like I mean, I agree that there are certain episodes that yeah, okay,
give or
whatever,
take. Yeah.
but honestly, in my opinion, top three.
So worst, the top two kind of movies for me, they're kind of in the same category, I think, for me, because I think they're kind of forgettable.
I
They're
know one. Okay.
they're not interesting.
Okay.
The very first one for me is Black Widow.
Okay, that's
It
not what I would have thought.
it wasn't very interesting for me.
Okay.
It didn't do anything for me personally.
Okay.
The other one is Eternals.
Okay, that was the one I would have thought you would have said first.
And maybe in phase 5 or phase 6, we may see some kind of an impact of that movie moving forward.
Right.
But that movie as a whole, beyond Angelina Jolie being in that movie, like
Okay.
it just doesn't do anything for
So
me.
yeah,
It's for those two movies are just forgettable.
so I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say two words. Okay, and this is what Eternals reminds me of. Okay,
Who
ready?
cares?
Well, that too, but it's here it is. Ready? Justice League. It's because when you bring in so many characters and you have to cram them all in a 2 hour, 2.5 hour movie, whatever, how long it was, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was that bad that they had to literally put in like multiple characters, multiple stories, figuring out like
I'll do one better. I'll give you one word.
what.
Superman.
I mean, hold on. Are you talking about like Henry Cavill, like that Superman, like in the
Well, I think they kind of almost had the same powers, right? Like they had kind of like a couple of them had like
so
the laser vision,
so you're
and
talking about Icarus. You're talking
yes,
about the guy who's basically like Superman with
right.
laser eyes and everything else. But I mean, this movie was so confusing to the point of like I had
It just was. It was forgettable.
yes, but I will mention that Black Widow. Okay, um, the thing about that movie is like I understand that they were trying to do like a Wonder Woman kind of aspect that they were trying to bring in a female lead character to kind of help, bring the stories out. But it was, for me, I was like, man, they need to do a Black Widow movie. And I know that they were saying that for a long time, and I'm glad that they did. But yes, I can agree that there were probably certain moments that were like, okay, yeah, it wasn't like the greatest, but like it was nice because then at least you get to see how she became, Black Widow and what drove her to be who she is at that moment. Because, yes, okay, Yelena, does potentially at some point will take over or do whatever she's going to do. But it was nice to see that they actually did something about it instead of just like, unfortunately, pulling a Bruce Banner, kind of moment where they don't say anything and they just like make her a supporting character because that doesn't really give her enough justice as a whole either.
Yeah. So I mean, those two movies, just like I said, they didn't do anything for me. The two shows that I have, and I'll say it this way, John. She-Hulk, Attorney at Law.
Uh,
Why?
Well, okay.
Why was it made?
Okay, well, again,
Why?
I know, and it was all comic relief. That's the problem. It was comic relief and guest appearances. That's all it was.
I did watch the whole thing, but like when I have to watch her literally twerking,
Oh, was Megan the Stallion? Yes,
Megan Thee Stallion.
yes. I do remember that. Yes.
No.
Yes, I,
No.
I agree. I agree that it doesn't make any sense. I think, actually, I would say the worst. I would probably say even the last episode was probably the biggest spoiler slash. I don't understand why this happened with the whole, having her with her family with Daredevil, mind you, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, Bruce Banner comes out of nowhere with his son Scar, and I'm like, what does this have to do with anything?
Right. And that whole, I mean, the whole scene, and, like I said, if we're spoiling anything, we're not apologizing. But the whole thing, like, you see Hulk and he's still that stupid Professor Hulk. And then you see Scar, which is his son, who looks like some kind of a, emo metrosexual teenage kid.
No,
and you're like, the Scar that I knew was kind of like
it was more like barbarian.
a barbaric, like, even if he was a kid, he was still like this muscle bound barbaric, like Hulk.
Well, he was a man. That's the problem. He wasn't a teenager. That's the problem.
But even if they made him a teenager, he wouldn't have been like just kind of standing there like a shy, I have anxiety teenage kid.
Well, and the problem was too is if I'm not mistaken, in the end scene, like he actually has short hair. He doesn't have long hair like
No, he
in
doesn't.
the comics. So it really like it almost like defeats the purpose of even bringing him in because
Right.
that's not even what he's supposed to look like. Because like again, if we're talking about this barbaric being, like he also has again like a not really a kilt, but like a cloth. Really,
And maybe we'll get a story, and this is phase 4 at its finest because, like I said, we're just being introduced to this, and then they go, "Hey, good luck with this."
yeah. And you're like, what? Or well, I'm not gonna. Never mind.
My last one is Miss Marvel because, and like a lot of projects that we've talked about in previous episodes, like maybe I have to be younger to enjoy this show.
Yes.
And the couple things that they did in phase 4 with, bringing in Miss Marvel, bringing in America Chavez, Wakanda Forever, the Black Panther movie, they brought in a whole lot of different cultures, which is great.
Yes.
But with Miss Marvel, they completely revamped and redid her whole entire powers and everything.
Well, it's like when you and I played like Marvel's Avengers, right? So like her ability is what is it, embiggen, right? It's basically the power of kind of like Mr. Fantastic, where
Yes.
you have the ability to stretch your whole body in different ways. And the problem is, when they only do it like it's like a mystical like force.
She has
kind of
an
thing.
energy
Yeah, like
that she projects. So it's not like her body itself grows, which is what her actual like comic ability is. It's like Mr. Fantastic, where she can. It's kind of a mixture of if you took Ant-Man and Mr. Fantastic, and you kind of mixed them together. She can grow her body to any size. She can make her fist like big. She can make her head big. She can make her feet big. in the show, it's more of like she gets like like a ring or some like a necklace or something, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
she gets kind of a trinket that
Yeah.
creates like an energy.
And the problem with that show is that, well, I, g- I guess, well, I guess that in some ways it does kind of reveal the whole mutant idea. So this is where, you know,
Yes,
with Disney taking over Fox, being able to bring in like X-Men and Fantastic Four, so having her being the first mutant,
because she has the mutant X gene.
right, which would hopefully kind of bring in the whole, like Wolverine and Professor X and so on and so forth, which I'm hoping they will do justice. Which again, that's more phase probably 5, 6, or whatever. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
Which would kind of, I mean, which would kind of lead to, the trinket is kind of what activates her abilities.
right,
If the trinket was given to somebody else, I would assume they would have a different set of abilities. But it was really like, why do you have to go and change somebody's abilities for the TV show? Like, I understand they're already playing because when they did Phase 4, 5, 6, and 7 were already being planned. Like
oh,
they're
absolutely, yeah.
already a thing. So
Well, hold on, only 5 and 6 though. They haven't talked about 7.
the Marvels movie
Oh,
is already in planning,
well, actually, it's supposed to come out this year.
and there's already a trailer. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But
Actually, I haven't seen it, so I will have to go check it out.
I want to say the only reason they changed her abilities in that way is because they already had the plan of teaming her up with Monica Rambeau
Right, which is
and Captain Marvel,
yeah.
who have energy as powers.
Which, but I mean, well, technically, like again, Captain Marvel being the cosmic ability, and then Monica Rambeau, like I think she, what is it like? She like phases through like certain things, or it's a very weird ability. But like, yes, with her having her powers through a trinket, it really doesn't help the overall picture
It is energy based, but I
to
think
a point.
that to me is why I put it as one of my one of the worst. Is it bad? No, it's not bad, but it's for me it's not one of my favorites.
So I feel like I want to mention one honorable mention when it comes to a TV show, which I think you and I would hope, agree. Okay. Um, so a lot of people probably didn't know who this character was. I honestly, I knew of him, but I never really knew like what it was about. But Moon Knight. Okay. So very, very weird concept. It's like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of effect, but like he basically can transform into like his multiple personalities, which it does bring up an interesting, kind of I guess topic on that, because I know, a lot of people might have multiple personality disorder. But like in the show, it really makes it interesting to see like how he can become, what is it? Is it three people?
I think it's more
Or he
he
has
has
probably more.
it's more than three people, but I mean this one would have made the list because I'll give it to Oscar Isaac for the acting that he does in the show
Yeah.
because it is phenomenal. But the show doesn't explain much of anything,
No, I mean
really.
it really, so the funny thing is when you watch it, it makes zero sense at first. But like once you see it all the way through, probably towards the end, like then you start to see like how the
It
characters
does
come
tell
into
a
play.
story, but like I think even at the end, you really don't know who the heck Moon Knight is.
Right. And I mean, I also heard that at some point, I don't even know if Oscar Isaac is actually coming back as Moon Knight, because they were talking about him just like appearing this one time and that's it, which I think it would be injustice for him as well as the character, because if they're talking about Midnight, like the Midnight Suns, right? And you bringing in Blade, bringing in Black Knight, possibly bringing him in Werewolf by Night, all these different characters that were more like mythical and more like creatures of the night kind of a thing. Like that's the piece that I would hope that Marvel at some point would bring those guys in, because they did mention, like for example, like yes, Blade is coming, like he is coming to fruition, you know. Black Knight is supposed to be coming at some point. I don't know, like if he's gonna have his own movie or if he's gonna like show up somewhere. But like all these different characters will hopefully
We'll be
bring.
talking about that the next
Oh, sorry,
the next one.
my bad. So I was just giving you a little preview for the next
Yeah.
time. If you got an idea for a podcast, but maybe don't have the money to afford other memberships from other podcast sites, don't fret because there is a solution.
Oh, you're talking about that creepy dude that lives down the street, right? Like if you buy him a 30 pack and a couple of Reese's, like he'll host your podcast.
No, you weirdo. I'm talking about Spotify for podcasters, which actually used to be Anchor. There are no monthly membership fees. You can post directly to Spotify and many other popular podcast apps, and you can even do video podcasts.
Wow, that's cool. We were actually quite skeptical of doing the free option, but it is actually super easy. And we got our first episode posted directly to Spotify. And we are now posted on several different podcasting apps and are working towards monetizing our podcast.
So if you have a podcast idea, don't let it go to waste. Check out Spotify for podcasters to set up and start your free podcast today.
So does that mean I didn't need to buy that guy a 30 pack?
Ay, ay, ay.
So I think, John, that's it. I think,
I mean, yeah. I mean, when it comes to Phase 4, I mean, as a whole, we've mentioned only a few things, but at the same time, if you're a true Marvel fan or if you really want to know more about it, go watch it because, yeah, Phase 1 through 3, I would say probably so far is definitely like some of the best, phases out of them all. But Phase 4, don't get me wrong. Okay. Yes, there is a lot of confusing moments. There's a lot of, characters you may not know, which I understand and it's okay. But, some movies, go ahead and watch them. You'll understand why they're not so great or why they like are some of the best, including the TV shows, because like I said, this is the first time that Marvel did it. And, some of them are great and some of them are, not so great. And it really just depends on you guys, So, for us, we just gave you our opinions, but really, you might have totally different opinions. So, even let us know. Maybe there's things that maybe you want to hear next time if we ever, decide to bring up Marvel again and, kind of talk about other things. But yeah.
all right. So, like we've said before, we have partnered with W Energy, which, if you're unfamiliar with W, it's a powdered energy drink, and it's actually really good. John and I have both, ordered from them.
Yeah, and actually, I just the last couple days I've actually been drinking it, and honestly, I've replaced it for coffee, and I can tell you right now, I actually have a lot more energy now, like drinking it, and then going to work than I've ever had before. To be honest.
Yeah, so it is a really, really good product. It's, no calories, no sugar. It's a natural source of caffeine. And we do have a coupon code that gives you 10%. So you can put in, GFTM23. It'll save you 10% on your entire order.
And I want to I want to mention this too. So I actually did go to, well, I call it a dietitian. He calls it a nutritionist, whatever. But, and I actually told her to look it up and we, looked at the whole formula, did everything. And honestly, a person that has been doing it for, let's say 25 years plus agreed that this product is actually a pretty good one because the one thing on the label it actually says is the coffee fruit extract, which I had no idea what that was. But I guess it turns out it does help with certain brain functions in the brain, of course. And it actually, I guess it kind of protects it in some ways too. So little fun fact, but yeah. So again, like we made sure that this isn't something that we're just like selling you guys. This is actually something that we both believe in.
It's a good product. So you can get the website from our website, which is geeksfromthemultiverse.com, or you can go to w.gg and you can put in the coupon code, or on our website, the link automatically puts the code in for you.
Right. And I know you can also go on Facebook too, because they have a Facebook page as well.
Right. So we do have social media. So Facebook, Instagram. We invite you guys to send us a message, to comment. We do plan on posting some, we posted one already that was a geeky short.
Something new.
We do plan on posting ones for future episodes, some past episodes. So we're looking at doing some new stuff. So definitely check out the website, check out our social media pages. We do have another partnership with Reaper Apparel Co.
All the sponsorships that we have and probably future ones, we're not just selling you guys an idea. We're actually trying to test them out and make sure that they're ones that we'd want to have as sponsors and
Right.
things like that. So we're making sure that you guys, enjoy what we like as well.
And the same coupon code for W works for Reaper Apparel Co. So it's the GFTM23 will get you the same 10% off with them. And, they have hats, shirts, stickers, all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So you guys can check them out. Their website is actually on our website as well. So we just want to thank you guys for checking us out for episode 9. As always, click the like button, share it out, don't keep it to yourself, and click the follow button because you'll always get that notification when a new episode drops. And we always try to drop the episode Mondays at 8 a.m.
As always,
Stay geeky.